the first step is to set up the SDK. I've downloaded the repository onto my computer, and I'm going to start up Flutter to install the app. While I do that, I'm going to install the dependencies, which are two dependencies, a Dart and a Flutter Breez SDK Nodeless dependency. I'll add them there in the pub spec. Next, I'm going to copy over a couple of files. They're kind of boilerplate classes that wrap the SDK and allow more convenient usage of them. So first, I'll add to my lib directory a utils directory, hopefully. New folder, utils, and then in here I've added a config file. Well, the config file is just allows us to create a new config just by copying an old config. And another file I'll be adding is the wrapper for the Nodeless SDK. So I'm going to create a services directory here, and then in this services directory I'm going to copy this file here. So this file allows us to connect to the SDK and initialize some event streams and SDK streams. The SDK streams send log files and events based on what's happening within the SDK. We can disconnect, and otherwise it's just kind of wrapper code to listen to the different streams that we have. Next, we're going to, in the main Dart file, we're going to start adding some of our dependencies. So we start by importing the BIP39 dependency, so we can create a mnemonic. And we're going to also import the Breez Nodeless SDK here, and secure storage for storing the mnemonic, and the constants file. The constants file has our API key inside, and you can get that from the Breez SDK website. Okay, we're going to start changing the main app here. I'm going to add, we're going to change the main function. So what we're adding here is initialization of the wrapper SDK here, initializing the secure storage, reading a mnemonic from the secure storage, and if it doesn't exist, we're going to create a new one, and then we're going to reconnect to the SDK. Of course, we need to add this function as well. We'll add this down here. So this uses our config wrapper just to create a new config. It gets the default config and then adds the API key from the constants, and it creates a connect request, which is then used to connect to the Breez SDK. And then next we're going to add in our app class. We're going to pass the SDK as a initializer for the app. Here we're passing it in, and then we can run it. So let's run it again. Let's restart the app. There should be no change on terms of the user interface. All we're doing is adding the dependencies, integrating into the app, and running the app. In the next video, we will update the balance from the data from the SDK. Let's wait while Flutter builds. And there we go. Application's running with the dependencies added